is because I've had it for 32 years. And it makes people very curious, because how can you always be on the front pages?
For decades, the British royal family presented a united front no matter what scandal threatened to crack it. But by early 2026, that front had collapsed for one member in particular. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, once Prince Andrew, Duke of York, had lost his titles, his home, and very possibly his freedom. And the people closest to him, his ex-wife Sarah Ferguson and his daughters Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie, were left to decide how much of that collapse they were willing to be pulled into. This is the story of how it happened, told through what has actually been reported, not speculation. To understand how Andrew ended up isolated from the people who once defended him most fiercely, it helps to go back to where it started. Andrew married Sarah Ferguson in July 1986 at Westminster Abbey, a wedding watched by millions. He was a naval officer, newly titled Duke of York. She was seen as a breath of fresh air inside a notoriously buttoned-up institution. But Andrew's naval career kept him away for long stretches, and Ferguson has spoken in past interviews about how much of the marriage's early years she spent essentially on her own, including through the births of Beatrice in 1988 and Eugenie in 1990. The couple separated in 1992 and divorced in 1996. Unusually for a divorced royal couple, they never fully parted ways. Ferguson continued to live near Andrew for years, and the two were residing together at Royal Lodge, his 30-room Windsor estate, right up until early 2026, when the property was given up and searched by police as part of the investigation into him. Whatever the state of their romantic relationship, their lives had remained tightly intertwined for 3 decades. Andrew's association with Jeffrey Epstein began around 1999, when Epstein was already a fixture of elite social circles in the U.S. and Europe. The relationship survived Epstein's 2008 guilty plea in Florida on charges involving a minor, a moment when many of Epstein's other associates quietly distanced themselves. Andrew did not. He was photographed visiting Epstein's New York townhouse in 2010, after the conviction was already public knowledge, a decision that would haunt him for years. That friendship became publicly catastrophic in November 2019, when Andrew agreed to a televised interview with the BBC's Emily Maitlis on Newsnight, intended to address the growing scrutiny. Instead, it is widely regarded as one of the most damaging interviews ever given by a royal. Andrew denied any wrongdoing and denied the allegations made by Virginia Giuffre, who said she had been trafficked to him as a minor. He offered explanations, including a claim about a medical condition affecting his ability to sweat, that were quickly and publicly picked apart. Within days of the interview airing, sponsors and charitable patronages cut ties, and Andrew announced he was stepping back from public duties. Over the following years, he lost his military affiliations and royal patronages one by one. In 2022, facing a civil lawsuit from Giuffre in the United States, Andrew reached a settlement with her, reported to be worth several £million, without admitting liability. Giuffre died in 2025. In October 2025, King Charles III formally stripped his brother of the title Prince and the honorific His Royal Highness, along with his remaining ceremonial roles, an extraordinary step that left him known publicly as Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. The situation escalated dramatically at the start of 2026. On January 30th, a fresh, enormous release of documents related to the Epstein case became public, including email exchanges between Andrew and Epstein. Some of those documents appeared to show Andrew forwarding Epstein confidential material from his time as a UK trade envoy, including reports from visits to Hong Kong, Vietnam, and Singapore in 2010, raising the possibility that sensitive government information had been shared with a convicted sex offender for reasons that had nothing to do with official business. Thames Valley Police opened an investigation, and on February 19, 2026, his 66th birthday, Andrew was arrested at Wood Farm, a property on the Sandringham estate where he had been living since giving up Royal Lodge. He was held for roughly 11 hours before being released under investigation, meaning he was neither charged nor cleared. It was the first arrest of a senior member of the British royal family in centuries. King Charles III released a brief public statement acknowledging the arrest and saying the law must be allowed to take its course. Investigators also searched Wood Farm and Royal Lodge as part of the inquiry, and separate lines of investigation reportedly examined the conduct of protection officers who had accompanied Andrew over the years, including trips connected to Epstein. Andrew has consistently denied wrongdoing in relation to Epstein and has said he never witnessed or suspected the abuse Epstein is known to have committed. As of the most recent reporting, the investigation into the misconduct in public office allegations remains ongoing, and no charges have been filed. Sarah Ferguson spent years publicly defending Andrew, appearing in interviews and public appearances where she consistently described him in warm, protective terms. That posture became harder to maintain as the documents piled up. Ferguson's own name appeared in some of the released Epstein-related correspondence, and she had already faced criticism in 2025 for past communications with Epstein after his conviction, which contributed to the closure of her charity at the time. When Andrew was arrested, Royal Lodge, where Ferguson had continued living alongside him, was among the properties searched. Reporting since the arrest describes Ferguson as shaken and under significant strain, alongside her daughters, though she has not made a major public statement addressing the arrest directly. There is no verified record of her giving a televised interview in which she directly accuses Andrew of harming their daughters, and no credible reporting supports a claim that Andrew abused Beatrice or Eugenie. What is documented is something narrower and, in its own way, still significant: a long public alliance under visible strain. The clearest reporting on the daughters' current relationship with their father comes from multiple outlets in the weeks after the arrest. According to reporting from the Mail on Sunday and picked up by other outlets, Princess Eugenie has largely cut off contact with Andrew, did not see him over the Christmas period, and is said to have been especially disappointed by his refusal to apologize to Epstein's victims during the 2019 Newsnight interview. Eugenie's own charitable work through the Anti-Slavery Collective, which she co-founded to combat sex trafficking, has been cited as a factor in why the association with her father has become untenable for her. Princess Beatrice has taken a more measured path. She is reported to still be in some contact with her father. She reportedly invited him to the christening of her daughter, Athena, in December 2025, though he did not attend the celebration that followed. Royal commentators have described her approach as trying to preserve some private relationship with her father while keeping unmistakable public distance from him, avoiding joint appearances or any public gesture of support. In the immediate aftermath of the February arrest, neither sister issued a public statement. Multiple outlets, citing sources close to the family, described the two as horrified, heartbroken, or in a personal crisis, with one insider telling a British outlet that they were extremely unhappy and felt left out in the cold. Their public appearances were reportedly scaled back in the weeks that followed, a decision widely interpreted as an effort to protect their own young children from the surrounding scrutiny rather than as a political statement. Unlike their father, Beatrice and Eugenie have kept their princess titles and her Royal Highness styling, even after Andrew lost his. That distinction has become its own point of public debate, with some commentators questioning whether the sisters should be asked to give up their titles as well, given the family name's association with the scandal. So far, no such move has been made. What emerges from the verified reporting is not a single dramatic confrontation or a tell-all interview, but a slow, uneven unraveling. Sarah Ferguson's decades-long public loyalty to Andrew has not translated into public loyalty toward him now that his legal situation has become this serious. But there is no evidence she has staged some kind of dramatic on-air confrontation, and casting the family's crisis in those terms distorts what has actually happened. What's documented instead is quieter and in some ways more human. Two adult daughters trying to figure out how much of their father's collapse they are willing to be pulled into, while protecting children of their own from a scandal they did not create. Royal commentators have repeatedly framed this as a story about inherited consequence. Beatrice and Eugenie did not choose Andrew's friendships or his decisions, yet they've spent years managing the fallout from both, from being asked about it in interviews they never wanted to give, to losing access to royal events like Ascot amid the broader fallout from their family's association with the scandal. As the investigation into their father continues, that dynamic shows no sign of resolving. Andrew has not been charged with a crime as of the most recent reporting, and both he and his family now face an uncertain wait to see what, if anything, comes next. As of the most recent coverage, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor remains under investigation for suspected misconduct in public office, released pending further inquiry rather than charged. Multiple police forces are reportedly involved in reviewing different aspects of the case, including his own conduct and the conduct of former protection officers who may have witnessed things during his years of travel with Epstein. Sarah Ferguson has not commented publicly on the arrest in detail. Eugenie's estrangement from her father appears, based on current reporting, to be close to total. Beatrice continues to walk a narrower line, present enough to preserve a private relationship, absent enough to protect her public one. What happens next largely depends on the outcome of an active police investigation, which means the most responsible thing anyone covering the story can do right now is report what is confirmed and be clear about what remains uncertain, rather than filling in the gaps with invented confrontations or unverified claims about what happened behind closed doors. The facts of this story, as they stand, are dramatic enough on their own.